Okay, so if, since you have done so many changes in Chapter 2 and acquired so many companies, if I'm a new customer and I come to you and says, tell me, what is Quad today? Or if I'm an investor, what is Quad today? Maybe those two answers are a little different, but how do you describe the company?
Well, I describe the company, we're a printer. We're not trying to be one of these people who says, oh, we're going to pretend not to be a printer. Quad is a printer. However, what I tell them is I'm going to help you sell more stuff. I'm also going to help you streamline your process. And so when you look at digital disruption and what's happened, and this is a lot about Chapter 3, the last 10 years has been about everybody shifting marketing spend to everything digital. And the big agencies, the big holding companies, really called it omni-channel. What they really meant, and omni-channel meant, do every channel all the time. What they really meant was Twitter to Facebook. We don't need print anymore. That's what was happening, and so we saw a big shift. And if I would tell you what's happening today, and what our customers are struggling with, is that they realize now that's starting to wane, not that it's not an effective medium, it absolutely is, but they're overspending. There's a crisis of measurement going on because all these channels, and if you look at how a customer is structured, even in their marketing department, you have your mobile people here, you have online people here, you have TV people here, you have print people here, and there's no measurement across all of it. They're all measured within their silos. And the same happens online. And so, we're in such a good position, and if you're a printer out there, you're in a great position to solve this problem, because when people are doing campaigns in this day and age, from digital all the way to conventional, they're probably managing 10 to 14 different agencies if you're a big marketer. And a lot of those agencies might be owned by the same parent company, but they don't integrate together. And so it's very hard to do a connected campaign. If you go back to what happened to print, back to your technology slide, when the computer came along, and then obviously the Macintosh, and then we were the first company of size to go completely direct to plate in the 90s, wall to wall. And when that happened, printers had to become experts at managing digital content, right? We got rid of these mylar pieces of film, and suddenly you exchange that with a very big file, digital file, a full 4-page file. High definition is huge to manage. And then, we were putting them on disks and sending them to printing plants, but then we said, well, this internet thing, how can we send it through a pipeline that at the time was like this compared to what it is today? We had to come up with our own compression technology to take those files, bring them down, get them to the printing plant. And so we became very good at workflow because Macintosh computers were speeding up. Everything was digital now. There was a lot of debate about where's advertising going to come from, what formats are they going to use. Really, at that time, all the people on the floor who had to do the work just figured it out. And so we were changing workflows very quickly. So we had to become very process-oriented, and that's where we really launched heavily into lean manufacturing, because we had a network all over, and if you're going to keep changing these workflows with your customers and you have plants all over, you better be singing from the same tune. And so printers became very good at managing that. Now you look at when the Internet 1.0 came along, everyone was amazed at what could happen. Amazon.com. Wow, I went and bought a book, and the next time I went online, they put another book that's like it in front of me. They're talking directly to me, one-to-one. And printers were sitting in the corner saying, hey, look at us, we've been doing that for 20 years. Direct mail through inkjet technology or selective binding. We've been doing that for 25 years, one-to-one marketing. And Quad was very early on that. And I know this because, growing up around the company, my route into the company was sales. And when the inkjet technology, the controller that we developed could do a lot more than just the address, we started selling it to people, and you'd see these response rates spike through the roof when you use the data and variable technology combined with traditional print. And so now fast forward to the next step in technology, the smartphone. Well, guess what? Our customers were struggling with the content and how to format it for it. Well, we know how to do that. And the other thing, the QR code you mentioned came along where suddenly you could connect mobile with print. I convinced the Postmaster General at the time to give our customers a postal discount if they used a QR code in print. And the reason he wanted to do that is he wanted to show that mail is still relevant. The reason I wanted to do it is because we knew the interconnectivity of print and mobile would be powerful, just as it was with the internet, with catalogs online, driving, print really being the igniter that I think Jeff talks about yesterday. And so, you know, we said, okay, well, and the reason that that was important because postage is the biggest cost for our customers. So you incent them to put a QR code, they're going to do it.
Right.
But they were just sending you to a web page that wasn't even formatted. So we started working with our clients, let us help you format it. But better yet, let's learn what we learned from direct mail, and let's put that QR code next to a product, and when you snap it, a video demonstration of the product happens. And this was a tool company we did this with. They had a 20% increase in sales with product that had a QR code that launched a video demonstration. And so they said, well, you guys do all our photography. We have photo studios all over the country. Could you do the video for us? Well, but we're a printer, right? Yeah, but we don't want to manage that. And so we hired the talent, we invested in the technology, and today we do thousands of videos for online. And so, you know, you fast forward to chapter 3 and what's happening with the marketing world. The marketing world wants to, you know, I think, you know, what you and I were talking, you said, well, you know, print is about evolution now, and it's about adapting. I think it's actually gone to the next level, which is how does it play in integration of all the channels?
Right.
Every marketer I talk to, every CMO, every CEO, whether they know it or not, are frustrated because they realize everything is not integrated. It has to be integrated, and if you want to be one-to-one focused with your clients and get those responsiveness out of your spend, you better surround Joel 360 degrees wherever he's going to interact with you. And so we call it multi-channel. As omni-channels, they meant Twitter to Facebook. We call it multi-channel because you're not going to do all channels all the time. You're going to let the data and the measurement tell you where to spend the money and what data to use to drive your customer. So we're sort of changing the story with our customers. It's like, I want to be that person to help you integrate. And the reason we can do that is the legacy of what happened with printers. We know one-to-one marketing, and we know content management, digital content management, and we know measurement.
Chapter 2, you acquired quite a few companies, and let me ask you a question that people always like to ask me: who are you going to buy next?
Haven't I bought enough? I mean, you know, you'll see some things this year that speak more to chapter 3, and that's that ability to have the right talent and the right capabilities to navigate online and offline, and really play that role of, you know, this sort of integrated agency. And remember, the big agencies, they don't own the execution. What's great about being a printer is we own the heavy iron, which is a big part of people's spend. And by the way, we're a really big invoice for people, so we get access to the C-suite in a lot of the big marketers. So we're positioned to be able to have the conversation. It says, let me tell you why I can help you with the problems you're having. And so it's happening a lot faster than I thought. And the reason being, just read the newspaper. I mean, the retailers got crushed this year. Every marketer is under extreme pressure. Look at the average life cycle of a CMO. It's dropped like a rock. You know, Target, Kohl's, they don't even have a CMO yet. And in last year, the last 2 years, almost every retailer had a whole change in the C-suite. So never waste panic. Right? Never waste tough times, because that's when people are willing to try things and do things differently.
So just to understand what you said on acquisition, your priority is not...
Did I avoid your
You
question?
avoided that. I'm trying to see if I can distill something. So your priority is not necessarily capacity anymore. It's more about capabilities for chapter 3.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. Now, I do think there's going to continue to be a lot of consolidation in the industry on sort of the chapter 2 part of it, which is heavy iron print, all over the world. I mean, as long as there's overcapacity, there's going to have to be rationalization in whatever form. But for us, you know, we've done a lot of heavy lifting here, and you know, it has to make a lot of sense. Capital's scarce, right? It's very valuable.
Right.
And so right now, I want to make sure that I'm building that presence that my customers want me to have.
So you mentioned a few things: direct mail, packaging, signage, in-store signage. What is really successful for you right now?
Right now, it's all of the above, because all those products are execution of a campaign. Right? We used to get a phone call, a marketer would have a campaign. We never really knew what the rest of the parts were. We were an output for part of it. Well, today, now we're not just doing the retail insert or the catalog or the direct mail. We're doing the in-store signage. We were talking backstage, Marin's agency in Paris a year or so ago. We have a whole in-store group. We built the packaging company just in the last 3 years, and we didn't do that just to get into packaging because it has better growth characteristics. We got into it because I believe packaging is a part of that campaign. And so as we're talking to people and inserting ourselves to say, help us, so instead of calling me, when you're ready to execute on the output, I want to talk to you about what is the campaign you want to develop in the future. And so let's talk about it from packaging to in-store all the way to online. And a great example of, if I could just tell a quick story, we worked with a small grocer, and sometimes small is good because they don't have all the legacy structure in their company to prevent you from doing big things. They have like 20 stores, growing like a weed. They're like a Trader Joe's. We convinced them to give us money and do a test, and we'd take over the complete campaign, from social all the way to print and in-store. We ended up, this was going to be over the Final Four weekend was the test. They wanted to sell 4 things and see if they could impact it by a connected multi-channel marketing event. They wanted to sell baby back ribs, Pabst Blue Ribbon beer, pizza, and avocados. It's the Final Four weekend. And these stores happen to be in more collegiate areas. They also wanted to see if they could impact their loyalty program. For retailers, loyalty programs are everything. The customer's giving you permission to market. And so 3 weeks ahead of time, we wired 3 of the stores with mobile beacons and just watched smartphones go in and out. And the reason for that was to create a baseline of measurement. Because when your cell phone's on, especially most people walk around with Wi-Fi, it sends out a signal. We know the individual device. And so we discovered that in those 3 stores, the loyal customers were shopping 1.7 times a week. Furthermore, we started geofencing digitally around the competitor stores, so that when the social, the mobile offering would happen, if it was clear you lived closer to the competitor, your offer would go up because we want to convince you to drive a little further to try, this other store. The net result of this, and we took over everything. We took over social, everything mobile, online. We took over, retail inserts, direct mail. It was all connected. We increased sales of all 4 products by at least 10%. It would have been more, but they ran out of pizzas. If you have college students, pizza's cheap, and the other thing we could tell them is we could show them a heat map of when they shopped. They got it wrong. Most people think you shop grocery stores after 5, but college students, are already at the bar by then. So they're shopping at different times. And the next step is we could actually tell them where in the store with these mobile beacons, where should you do product placement? Because the people who bought baby back ribs were more likely to buy antacid than avocados or something like that. So change the layout. So that's where it's going, and that's real and happening quickly. But that's what we talk about when we talk about campaign and owning the execution of it. Packaging's next. We're having lots of conversations with people who never knew Quad knew packaging because we're so new to it. But they're exposed to all this other stuff that we do, and suddenly they're saying, boy, we've never talked to a packager like this. We want to bring people we never would have brought to the table to talk about a campaign and how packaging can play into it.
It's kind of fascinating because you said you described the company as a print company, but yet you just told us a story about how you're watching mobile phone getting in and out the store, not just your clients, their competitors, to see who is shopping and what time.
That program, if it was done by multiple agencies, wouldn't have been able to happen the way it did. And furthermore, when you go down this route as a marketer, you got to iterate quickly. You got to be able to move faster. Everything has to execute because you can't be stale anymore. If you got a multi-channel campaign that can be connected, you don't have time to coordinate different people who have different ideas and are using the wrong measurement.
So, is that some of the trends you think you're going to see in the next few years in print, more people are going to do it? What other things you think we're going to see in the next few years in the print world?
I think that's the thing to watch is integration of channels is the talk. It's understanding attribution of what channel drives what, and what is the interconnectivity between the two. And I think if you're a printer, you're in a really good spot to actually impact this because you own the execution. And you know, again, a lot of the big agencies are trying to figure this out, but their structure is such that it's hard for them to execute in the same way.
What about trends in technology? Of course, there's the offset world, which you have a lot of them, and there's the digital, and in digital you have inkjet, and you have the toner. What do you think you're going to see emerge in the next few years?
Well, you're going to see it's personalization. One-to-one marketing is about personalization.
Yeah.
And the economics are going to drive what technology you use where. I mean, digital printing, full four-color digital printing has been around a long time. It was slow to adopt because of the cost points on, you know, sort of long-run types of campaigns. And I remember being at one of the drupas where digital is all the rage, and I went up to one of them and I said, look, that's great, but I can't sell this to my customers because of the cost point. But if you could take that technology out of this big box and give me a 1-inch, 4-color, high-quality product placement opportunity, I can strap that on a M1000 press, get the economics of printing 1 million of something, because my marketing customers, they don't care that everything's variable. They just care that certain items will be variable. And so now today, the dream has come true. So we have M1000 presses with high quality inkjet 4-color heads, and we have fully digital presses. And it's really the customer's not going to care. It's going to be about the data you're using to try and get Joel to buy more stuff from you. Mm-hmm. And you're going to use your image database more aggressively to do that. And the economics will determine what technology you do where.
Hi. You gave a wonderful example of the grocer.
Yep.
For multi-channel marketing. Okay, so now let's say the customer isn't a grocer, it's Dow Chemical.
Yep.
Okay, now they work with multiple agencies, they have huge marketing, nobody talks to each other.
Right.
So what would you say to the 1,000 printers in this audience if they said to you, well, who do I go to? Who do I talk to if I want to become the single shop player in helping them with their multi-channel marketing? There are so many people to talk to. How do I coordinate that? How do I get anyone to listen to me?
Well, I think someone like Dow Chemical is an extreme example because I know a lot of printers here are you know, smaller printers, but any marketer, if you talk to the people at the top, the CEO, the CMO, they're frustrated right now. All the CMO cares about is for each dollar of marketing spend, does it create $5 of revenue or $10 of revenue? The problem is that the legacy organizations that worked for the legacy world are still intact. And so these guys are frustrated. These guys are trying to do their jobs, but no one knows there's a solution. And so you have to get to the people up at the top because you're by definition blocked by the legacy organization. This is not because people are trying to save their jobs or do that. It's just the way the companies function. I reorganized all of Quad around getting rid of those silos of the different product lines so that I could go speak to a Dow Chemical about how I can execute for them. And so what I'd tell you is that when you get up to the top, small companies, large companies, they know they have a problem. And when you start to point out that, gee, you should really think about reorganizing your marketing department, they kind of nod. They say, yeah. And so it's not easy. What we're doing, as big as we are, as big as our invoices are, it's still not easy to get that type of conversation going. But for us, I look at the top 50 to top 100 customers we have, and we're going to focus intensely on trying to get there. You know, I'm going to a large customer to meet with their CMO for the first time on Friday in Boston. That's the opportunity to have this type of conversation. I'm going to tell you it's not easy because companies don't change quickly, especially big ones. But I will also tell you that if there's a time to be able to get that conversation going, it's now. because I don't care what industry you're in, you're being disrupted. You know, everyone likes to say, well, you're a printer, woe is me. I remember being able to say, yeah, we've dealt with, 2 to 3% volume decline, and laptops dropped 30% in 1 year. So the message is that don't waste the time when people are pressured, because that's the time you can find a different route to get to the person who does have to connect the dots for their company. And not, again, you get to the people down here, they have one dot, right? This person has all the dots and can see it. And when you point out the opportunity, the conversation happens very quickly.